Hello my dear students. Now in today's class we are going to start with unit number 5, that is human physiology. In the human physiology I have already sent the notes of breathing and exchange of gases, that is chapter number 17. So now we'll start with the chapter number 17, breathing and exchange of gases. Now what is respiration and what is breathing, that we are going to study. Respiration is the oxidation of nutrients in the living cells to release energy for biological work. So respiration is occurring at the cellular level. Cells, what they will do? They will do the oxidation of the nutrients and they release the energy for our all work. We need the energy. So that energy is released by the cells. That is called as respiration, cellular respiration. Then next is the breathing part. What is breathing now? Breathing, it is the exchange of oxygen from the atmosphere with carbon dioxide which is produced by the cells. So as you know, breathing, it is the exchange of oxygen with carbon dioxide. Oxygen from the atmosphere and carbon dioxide that is produced by the cell. That is called as the breathing actually. Now what are the different respiratory organs in the different animals? So different animals, they have the different respiratory organs. Till now we have studied. So we can see here some examples. The general body surface, respiration occurs through the general body surface. For example, the lower invertebrates like sponges, coelentrates, flatworms, all they respire through their body surface. Then next example is earthworm, leeches and the amphibians. As you know, the cutaneous respiration, that is respiration through the skin or moist cuticle, that is called as cutaneous respiration. Then the tracheal tubes, tracheal respiration, it is seen in insects, centipedes, millipedes, spiders, like etc. So insects like cockroach also, centipede, millipede, you will see the tracheal tubes are present for respiration. Then if you take the example of fishes, tadpoles or the prawns, all they respire through the gills. If the respiration is through the gills, then it is called as the branchial respiration. And mostly all vertebrates, they respire through the lungs. If the respiration is through the lungs, then it is called as the pulmonary respiration. Now we are going to study the human respiratory system. So we have the pulmonary respiration because we respire through the lungs. So human respiratory system, it has two pairs of air passages, that is air tract and the lungs. So two parts are there. It consists of air tracts, that is also called as air passages, and paired lungs. The two parts are there, air tracts and the paired lungs. So here you can see the air tract or the air passage starts from the nasal cavity, then nostrils, the larynx is there. So this is the air tract and finally it opens into the paired lungs. That is the second part. So now first we'll study the air passages or air tract. It is also called as the conducting part. So conducting part, it transports the atmospheric air into the alveoli. So that is its function. Again what it does, it clears air from the foreign particles. So you must have been observed in the nose, the nasal hairs are present. So these hairs, they clears the air from the foreign particles. And also one more function it does, that is it humidifies and brings the air to body temperature. So whatever air we are taking inside, it is having the different temperature. It may be cool air, it may be hot air. So while it is passing through the nasal passage or air passage, it will bring it to our body temperature. So all these three functions, these are carried out by the conducting part. So what are the parts of this conducting part, that we'll see now. So these are the parts of air passages or air tract. The external nostril, that is the openings of our nose, then nasal passage from where the air passes, and nasal chamber, that is nasal cavity or nasal chamber. Then nasopharynx, where the pharynx and the nose joins, that is called as nasopharynx. Then next one is the glottis. Glottis, it is a opening and closing of the digestive and respiratory system, glottis. Then larynx. Larynx, it is the sound box from where the voice is produced, larynx. Then in the second diagram you can see the trachea, a central tube-like structure, that is trachea. It is going to branch into the primary bronchiole. That is, one goes to the right lung, one goes to the left lung. That is the primary bronchi. Then primary bronchi, in the third diagram you can see it is going to divide into the secondary bronchi. Secondary bronchi will divide into the tertiary bronchi. So the partitions will be there, branching will be there. Then tertiary bronchi is going to divide into the bronchioles and terminal bronchioles. Terminal bronchioles, they are opening into the respiratory bronchioles, and finally the alveolar duct. Sac-like structures, those are called as the alveolar duct. They opens into the sac-like structure called as alveoli. So this is the air passage or air tract from the external rostral up to the alveoli. So each terminal bronchiole, that is last one, it gives rise to the many thin and vascularized alveoli. Alveoli are the sac-like structure, thin, where the actual exchange of gases will occur. So in this diagram you can see the nasal part, it starts from the nostrils, and finally the trachea is there. Trachea is opening into the both the lungs, that is bronchi. Bronchi is giving rise to the primary bronchi, secondary bronchi, tertiary bronchi. Then bronchioles are there, and bronchioles finally they are opening here into the sac-like, bag-like structure. Those are called as the alveoli. In the next diagram you can see here a flower-like structure, that is called as the alveoli, where actually the exchange of gases will take place. So now this is the structure of the larynx. Larynx is called as sound box or voice box, from where the voice is produced. It is a cartilaginous box which helps in sound production. In the diagram you can see that is the larynx. It helps in the sound production. So during swallowing, when we take the food inside, when during swallowing, glottis, in the diagram you can see the epiglottis is there. The glottis is closed by the epiglottis. Glottis, it is the opening which is closed by the epiglottis. Epiglottis, it is a thin elastic cartilaginous flap-like structure. So what this epiglottis is doing? It is to prevent the entry of food into the larynx. You know, the digestive system and respiratory system is different, but larynx, it is having the common opening, larynx. So it is covered by the epiglottis. So when the digestive system has to open, it will close the respiratory tract. When the respiratory tract is open, it will close the digestive tract. So to prevent the entry of food into the larynx, the epiglottis is present there. Then trachea, that is primary, secondary and tertiary bronchi, and the initial bronchioles are supported by the incomplete cartilaginous half ring. So the trachea, you can see the lower part, a tube-like structure which is covered by a ring-like structure. So these ring-like structures, these are cartilaginous half rings, and these are incomplete. These are not completely round structure. In the next diagram we can see incompletely these half rings are present. In this diagram you can see the rings. In the first diagram you can see lower, the tracheal rings are present, half, incomplete rings are present. Here you can see the vocal cords in action. First one is the Chinese speaker, next one is the German speaker. Chinese speaker, it is giving the air outside, and while talking the air is coming outside. Chinese and German language. Now the second part of the human respiratory system, that is lungs. First part is the air passages or air tract. Next one is the lungs. So lungs, these are situated in the thoracic chamber and they rest on the diaphragm. Diaphragm, that is a dome-shaped structure on which the lungs are present in the thoracic chamber. Then right lung, it has 3 lobes. If you see in the diagram, the right lung, it is having the 3 lobes, 1, 2, 3. And left lung, it has 2 lobes, 1, 2. Clear? Then the lungs are covered by double layered pleura. Pleura, it is nothing but the membrane. Double layered pleura. Outer is called as parietal pleura and inner is called as visceral pleura. So 2 membranes are there. Outer parietal, inner visceral. That is the covering of the lungs. Then in between these 2 layers, a pleural fluid is present. In between the outer and inner membrane, a fluid is present, that is called as pleural fluid, and it lubricates lung surface and prevents friction between the membranes. What's the function of this fluid? It lubricates the lung surface and prevents the friction between the 2 membranes. So here in this diagram you can see the right lung, upper lobe, middle lobe and inferior lobe. 3 lobes are there, whereas in the left lung, the upper lobe and the inferior lobe, only 2 lobes are there. The lungs, these are nothing but the branching network of bronchi plus bronchioles and alveoli. The main trachea, it divides into the bronchi, bronchioles, and bronchioles they opens into the alveoli, that is sac-like structure. What are alveoli? Alveoli and their ducts, they form the respiratory part or the exchange part. The actual respiratory part is the alveoli. Then these alveoli are the structural and functional units of the lungs. One more question again here. What are the structural and functional unit of the lungs? Those are nothing but the alveoli. In the diagram you can see bronchioles, the small bronchioles are there, and at the tip you can see the alveoli, the sac-like structure. So that is the main exchange part where the exchange of gases is taking place. So alveoli, these are the structural and functional units of the lungs. Steps of respiration. What are the steps of respiration? First step, that is the breathing. It is nothing but the pulmonary ventilation, or you can say breathing, that is the first part. Second step, diffusion of the respiratory gases across the alveolar membrane. So what are the gases are taken inside? They have to diffuse across the alveolar membrane. Third step is gas transport. From the alveoli, it has to transport it to the each and every cell. So who is doing that? Blood. So gas transport. Next step, diffusion of respiratory gases between blood and tissue. So from the blood, the oxygen has to go into the tissue. The tissue, they will utilize the oxygen and gives the carbon dioxide back into the blood. So that is diffusion of the respiratory gases between blood and tissue. And next one, last step, that is cellular or tissue respiration. When means they utilize the oxygen and gives out the carbon dioxide. Inside the cell occurs, that is respiration. In the first slide we have studied cellular respiration. What they will do, they will utilize that oxygen and they disintegrates the nutrients and they release the energy, and whatever the carbon dioxide is produced, again they will give back to the blood. Clear? So these are the 5 steps in the respiration. Breathing, diffusion of respiratory gases across alveolar membrane, gas transport, diffusion of respiratory gases between blood and tissues, and 5th, cellular or tissue respiration. First step, that is breathing. In the breathing, again the 2 sub-steps are there, inspiration and expiration. You must have been seen. We will take the air inside and we will give the air outside. So inspiration and expiration. Inspiration is active intake of air into lungs, and expiration means passive expelling of air from the lungs. Air is given out from the lungs. So inspiration and expiration. So now in the video you can see how the inspiration and expiration is taking place. Here you can see exhale, inhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. So what is the mechanism of breathing? So 2 steps are there, inspiration and expiration. So what happens in the inspiration? What is inspiration? When we take the air inside into the lungs from the atmosphere, that is called as inspiration. So how the space is provided in the lungs, that we'll study. That is the mechanism of inspiration. So during this, the diaphragm, it get contracts. Diaphragm, in the diagram you can see that the last part of the lungs, the diaphragm is there. So diaphragm, it gets contracts. Contract means it will get flattened. Diaphragm will become flattened, causing an increase in the volume of the thorax. Diaphragm contracts, you can see it becomes flattens and it increases the volume of the thorax. Thorax volume is increased. Then it lifts up the ribs. What happens then next is the external intercostal muscles. Whatever the intercostal muscles are there, in the diagram you can see the muscles are there. Those intercostal muscles, they will contract, and due to that what happens, the intercostal muscles are present in between the ribs. So those muscles will contract. So what happens, ribs and the sternum, it gets lift up and volume in the dorsal axis increases. Clear? So ribs and the sternums are lift up. So just to remember, the diaphragm contracts and the volume of the thorax is increased, and the ribs and the sternums will go lift up. So the volume of the thorax is increased. Means space in the thorax, space in the lungs is increased. Clear? Then thoracic pressure is reduced. So as the size is increased, the pressure inside the lungs is reduced now. So internal pressure of the lungs is reduced now. So it is easy to take the outer air inside the lungs. So what happens here? Lungs expand and pulmonary volume increases. Volume means size of the lungs is increased. So due to that, what happens? Intrapulmonary pressure decreases. Size of the lungs increases, but pressure of the air inside the lung decreases. Due to that, what happens? The external air which is present in the atmosphere, it has more pressure, and the air which is present in the lungs, it has low pressure. So air enters from the atmosphere into the lungs when we take air inside. That is called as inspiration. So understood what happens in the inspiration? The diaphragm contracts, means it becomes flattens. Then the ribs and the intercostal muscles, they contract, so that ribs and the sternum, it will get lift up, and as a result of these two, what happens? The thoracic volume increases, means size of the thorax lungs increases, and pressure of the air inside the lungs is decreased. So lungs expand and pulmonary volume increases and intrapulmonary pressure decreases, so that air moves from outside into the lungs. This is called as inspiration. Now second step of the breathing is expiration. In expiration, what happens? Intercostal muscles and diaphragm, they relax. So diaphragm again, it will become dome shape. Normally it is dome shape, so it will go back to its normal position. The intercostal muscles also will relax and they will come down. The ribs and the sternum, they will come back to their position. So due to this, what happens? Thorax regain its original position. Thorax will come into its normal position. Thoracic volume decreases. The lungs size is decreased again. Pulmonary volume decreases. Okay, the size of the lungs is decreases. So what happens? If the balloon size is reduced, then what happens? Air will go outside. So like that, air moves outside. The size of the thorax is reduced. If the size of the balloon is reduced, then what happens? Air moves outside. So like that, size of the thorax is reduced, so the air will move outside. So that is called as the exhalation. Clear? So this is the mechanism of breathing, inspiration and expiration. So what is a respiratory cycle? Respiratory cycle means an inspiration and expiration. We have to take air inside and give outside. Then it is called as one respiratory cycle. Inhalation and exhalation, that is inspiration and expiration. Together it is called as respiratory cycle. Then what is the normal respiratory rate? Means in 1 minute, how many times we respire normally? That is 12 to 16 times per minute. That is the normal respiratory rate or normal breathing rate. Clear? Then how to measure this respiratory cycle? That is, instrument is used, that is called as the spirometer. Mention the instrument name, 1 mark question. That is spirometer or respirometer, it is also called as. It is to measure the respiratory rate, how we are going to respirate. So in the diagram you can see the respirometer or spirometer is there. Like this, we have to take it into the mouth and we have to start breathing or respiration normally. So how much it will come? 12 to 16 times per minute in a healthy person. Now next point we are going to study, that is respiratory volumes and capacity. What are the different respiratory volumes and what is the capacity of the lungs? So here these are asked for 1 mark question. What is tidal volume? What is residual volume? What is IRV? So like this 1 mark questions are asked. So all these are important one. So respiratory volumes, their definitions are there, and what is the amount of this volume in ml, that we are going to study. So first one, that is the tidal volume. Tidal volume, or also we can call it as TV, tidal volume. So it is the volume of air inspired or expired during a normal respiration. That is called as TV, tidal volume. Clear? So volume of air renewed in the respiratory system during each breathing. So what is the definition of the TV? The volume of air inspired, how much air we can take inside, or how much air we can give outside, expired, during a normal respiration. That is called as tidal volume. And how much it is? 500 ml of the air we can inspire or expire in a normal breathing. Next one, that is inspiratory reserve volume, IRV. Inspiratory reserve volume or complemental air. Just to remember, inspiratory reserve volume, IRV. So what is IRV? It is the additional volume of air that can inspire by forceful inspiration. Forceful inspiration means forcefully how much air we can take inside. Forcefully respiration. So that is the additional volume of air that can inspire by forceful inspiration. That is called as inspiratory reserve volume. And how much it is? 2500 to 3000 ml. Next one, expiratory reserve volume, ERV. So it is the additional volume of air that can expire by a forceful expiration. So how much air we can expire, give out by a forceful respiration, that is called as expiratory reserve volume. And how much it is? 1000 to 1100 ml. Clear? IRV and ERV, forceful inspiration and forceful expiration. Then next one is residual volume. What is residual volume? Volume of air remaining in the lungs after a forcible expiration. So how much amount of air we can give outside? We can give. Then to some amount of air is remained in the lungs. Lungs never will get empty. So some amount of air is remained there. So that is called as residual volume. Volume of air remaining in the lungs after a forcible respiration also. That is called as residual volume. And how much it is? 1100 to 1200 ml. Now we'll see the respiratory capacities. Respiratory volumes we have studied. Now respiratory capacities. The first one, the respiratory capacity, that is IC. So IC, it is indicated, or it is the mixture of TV, that is tidal volume, and IRV, inspiratory reserve volume. Volume of air that can be inspired after a normal expiration, that is called as the inspiratory capacity. How much air we can inspire? So it is the combination of TV, that is tidal volume, plus forceful inspiration. Clear? Together it is called as the inspiratory capacity. What is the inspiratory? How much air we can take inside? Okay, so that is inspiratory capacity. Then expiratory capacity, it is the combination of TV, that is tidal volume, plus ERV, forceful expiration. So together how much amount of air we can give out? That is the volume of air that can expire after a normal inspiration. That is called as expiratory capacity. Clear? Then volume is given there in the last column. Then functional residual capacity, FRC. It is nothing but volume of air that will remain in the lungs after a normal expiration. Normal, how much we can give air inside, outside. After that, how much amount of air is remained in the lungs, that is called as the functional residual capacity. That is expiratory reserve volume plus residual volume. That gives our FRC. And last, that is the vital capacity. Vital capacity, it is the VC. So it is the combination of expiratory reserve volume, tidal volume, and inspiratory reserve volume. It is nothing but maximum volume of air that can breathe in after a forced expiration, or maximum volume of air that can be breathed out after a forced inspiration. That is called as vital capacity. So it is the combination of ERV, IRV, and TV. And last one, that is the total lung capacity. What is the total lung capacity? Total volume of air in the lungs after a maximum inspiration. Total volume of air in the lungs after the maximum inspiration. So it is a combination of all, that is residual volume, expiratory reserve volume, tidal volume, inspiratory reserve volume, or the VC plus RV. It is nothing but the vital capacity and the residual capacity. So together it is called as the total lung capacity, and total lung capacity is 5000 to 6000 ml of the air. So these are the respiratory volumes and capacities. The next type of the respiration is gas exchange, gaseous exchange between the alveoli and blood. So that second step we'll study in the next lecture. So today we'll stop here.